Well, Canada is waking up to yet another trade reality as Donald Trump makes good on his promise, hiking tariffs on some Canadian goods to 35%. The latest escalation comes as key industries, including steel, aluminum, and the auto sectors, continue to face increasing pressure. Lana Payne is the national president of Unifor. She also sits on the Prime Minister's Council of Canada, U.S. Relations. She joins me now. Lana, thanks so much for making time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it too.
So Canada has yet to secure a deal as of today. What is your sense about where things stand right now and what happens next?
I think it's really, really important. And I know how frustrating this is right now for Canadians. No one understands that more given where our members work in auto, in forestry, in aluminum, in all the places that are being hit hard right now. But it's important that as a country, we are not being conditioned by this economic trade war to take a bad deal. And that means we have to be prepared to fight back for the industries that are hurting right now and for the workers who are facing, untold anxiety with layoffs across our country. So I think, this is tough. But we have to stay strong and we have to stay firm, and we have a lot of leverage as a country, and we need to consider using it right now.
Okay, two follow-up questions to that. The first, can you explain your assessment of why no deal is better than a bad deal? Because I think some may think that the uncertainty that comes with unresolved trade talks with the U.S. may be more damaging to our long-term economic prospects and therefore to jobs than a deal that includes tariffs themselves.
Well, that would mean you'd be willing to write off the auto industry, the steel industry, and the aluminum industry, and potentially the forestry sector and all of the other sectoral tariffs that we are under investigation with right now in terms of the U.S. administration. So I'm not willing to accept that. Our members are not willing to accept it. And I think what people and Canadians need to understand is that this will cause, so much harm to our economy, to people, to communities, and that's why we need to fight back. And if you look at what's happening here, there is a real attempt by the president to try and condition us into taking what would be a very bad deal, and tariffs on the auto industry, in my mind, would be a very bad deal because it will spell the end of this more than 100-year-old industry in Canada. And I remind people that almost 500,000 Canadians depend on this industry in one form or another for employment, whether directly in the supply chain or in spin-off jobs. I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to sacrifice that.
You mentioned earlier Canada's leverage. What do you view as Canada's leverage in these trade talks?
Well, I mean, we buy more from the U.S. than any other nation. We are their biggest trading partner. That is incredibly important. And there are a lot of things that they can't build in their economy without the inputs that we provide, whether it's energy, whether it's potash, whether it's aluminum, which is, the one, I would say, tariff on one sector that no one seems to understand, given the U.S.'s total dependency on Canadian aluminum. So these are pressure points. And what I have said all along is we need to put everything on the table. We have to be aware of where our leverage is and what we're willing to use in order to make sure that we are protecting Canadians from one part of this country to the other. Auto workers should not pay the price of this trade war. Steel workers should not pay the price of this trade war. Forestry workers should not pay the price of this trade war. We need our governments to push back hard. And I've heard the comments from Premier Ford this morning and last evening about us using our leverage. And I agree with him 100%. We have to absolutely be willing to do that.
I don't have a lot of time left, but I want to ask you, because I think there is a resignation to the reality that a tariffed world is just going to be our new normal. I think the critical question now is not whether there's going to be tariffs, but at what level will we be tariffed? So I want to ask you, is there a level of tariffs that you can live with?
No, not on these industries that I've spoken about. And what I would say to you is that is a defeatist attitude, because the reality is that Canada does have leverage, and we can get to a different place.
I mean, the
with
Prime
the United
Minister
States
has acknowledged as much, though, that we should expect a deal with some level of tariffs.
I can disagree with the Prime Minister, and I do here because I think that we can do something in terms of pushing back to create a different environment. And for example, the tariffs themselves that the US has applied on Canada, particularly with aluminum, if you look at that at the moment, is causing untold damage and will cause damage in the US economy. And we have to take those pressure points into account and increase them. And we can do that as a country.
Okay, Lana Payne, I have to leave it there. I'm unfortunately out of time. Really appreciate you taking the time for the conversation this morning.
Thank you.